Hello, welcome to my craft room. I am Coral and I am filming sideways on my phone. The camera is over to my left. I keep making eye contact with myself. I'm going to try to get myself to look at the camera, but if I'm looking off screen or away from you all, I'm looking at myself while I'm talking. That's going to take some practice. But I wanted to film an intro to kind of this channel and to this video, kind of explaining some of what I envision this being. Sorry if you hear extra noise. My dog is in my office with me, and he's in my trash can because that's a good place to hang out. I am, let's see the best way I can describe this. I am a recent graduate. I just finished my PhD. In psychology. I am a knitter, I am a yarn dyer, I am a gardener. I have spent the last 10 and a half years in college, essentially. And now that I'm coming out of all of that, I am really starting to find my creative spark again, and I'm really starting to find this joy in making things and stuff. I also bake a ton. This is Barrett. There will be more footage of him. He's very cute. But I'm really starting to find that creative joy. And there are some things that I've always followed different, podcasters, vlogs, whatever you want to call it. And there are some things that I feel like are missing that I could possibly bring to this space. And so I wanted to maybe try out some videos, try making some videos and try putting them out and kind of see if I can be helpful to anybody else. When it comes to gardening, I follow a lot of homesteaders. I follow a lot of gardeners, all of whom live in warm climates. I live in Rhode Island right now. I'm in Zone 6B. We are planning on moving, but at the same time, when we move, we'll likely be in a similar zone. We're planning on heading to Ohio. And what I've noticed is either all of the homesteaders and gardeners are in warm climates or they're like big, massive productions. I have 6 beds in my backyard and some containers. And I start seeds in my basement. I basically grow veggies for myself and my boyfriend Nick, and then we share with friends and family when we have excess. Like one year we had so many cucumbers we didn't even know what to do with it. I'm venturing into canning for the first time this year, but I noticed online that it seems like a lot of the productions are big. It's high yield, huge productions, lots of animals, like all of those things, warm climates where they can grow most of the year. And I think there might be a benefit to showing what it looks like, starting really small, growing for a couple of people, really just growing for the joy of growing. Like I just find so much joy in getting my hands in the soil and starting seeds and watching all of these things grow. I don't even know how to fully explain the joy that I find in that. And then I also think it's just fun. There's not a lot of yarn dyeing, how I do it content online, at least from what I found. And I just think it's really fun to watch other people dye yarn and to see how other people do things. And I don't have anything kind of to protect, I guess. I have a small yarn dyeing business. It's called Ink Blot Yarn Co. And I'll talk more about that over time. And I will link my Etsy shop in the description box, but I'm not worried about if anybody were to take my style or whatever. I just want other people to find joy in whatever creative activities they want to do. And if they see me dyeing yarn and they take inspiration from that and they start dyeing yarn, then do it, go dye the yarn, do the things. So yeah, I think these videos are really just going to be, the title of the channel is Cultivating a Creative Life. And I think there's a lot to be said just in those 4 words. Cultivating, gardening, I just want my hands in the soil. I want to grow things. I want to grow myself as a person. I feel like I've done a lot of self-searching. I'm sure I'll mention it in here. Like, I've been doing lots of therapy, lots of soul searching, and trying to figure out kind of who I am after walking out of a program and out of college. Like, I'm no longer a grad student. And for 10.5 years, I said, oh, I'm in college, I'm a student. For the last 6.5, it's been, I'm a graduate student. And it's become so much of your identity. And so there's been a lot of kind of cultivating of myself through this process. And I think that doesn't stop now. That's going to keep going for a really long time. And also that creativity piece. There's so much to being creative and expressing that creativity and leaning into that creativity. Like our guest here, this is Barrett. This is his favorite chair. I'll pause my story for a second. This is his blue chair. He loves it. It has a blanket on it right now. He hangs out here while I work. But I really think it could be worthwhile for myself to kind of have documentation of where I am, where I've been, where I'm going when it comes to my yarn dyeing, my knitting, my gardening, baking, just like all of the things that I find to be such creative outlets and bring so much joy. And also maybe someone out there will find some inspiration for themselves through my process. Maybe they'll take up knitting or pick up crochet. I'm not typically a crocheter, but I've got a crochet blanket going. So like maybe they'll branch out from their typical craft into a new one. Maybe it will inspire them to put their hands in soil. That's one of my favorite things, is talking about gardening and the joy I have, and having other people decide that they're like ready and willing to pick up gardening in some capacity, whether it's like containers, or they want a raised bed, or they want like a whole backyard garden. Like, that brings me so much joy. And so, yeah, I'm just going to kind of take you guys along for the ride for a lot of this. I don't have like specific content planned necessarily. But if there's ever things you want to see in terms of like crafty things I do, let me know. I'm always willing to take suggestions. So yeah, the first video that you guys are going to watch is going to be about seed starting. I started my first batch of seeds a couple weeks ago. I may have been wearing this same red sweatshirt, or I was wearing a different red sweatshirt on a different day. I mean, this is like my favorite color of clothes to wear, so it could be different day, different red sweatshirt. We'll see what happens. Because I don't actually remember. I filmed it probably a week ago. And so, yeah, come along for the first set of seed starting of the season. There will be a couple more seed starting videos that are going to show up here over the next couple of weeks, because we're just getting started with all of that. And hopefully there will be some yarn dyeing content soon, possibly some knitting stuff. But yeah, so welcome to this journey of cultivating a creative life, and really finding myself in all of that. And I hope you enjoy. Let's watch the next video or the next clip. What do like the vloggers say? I don't know. I'm new to this, and sometimes it feels a little ridiculous that I'm doing it, but here we are. Let's jump into the gardening seed starting content. As of recording right now, it is the end of February. It is 40 degrees outside. It's been freezing every night. It snowed yesterday. So it feels like we're a really long way from garden season, like proper garden season, but there's a lot that can be done now. And so I'm starting some of my cold weather crops that are going to go out in a handful of weeks. So I thought I would start kind of documenting all of these things at this point. And so kind of to explain what my setup looks like, I'm in my garage. It's a hot mess in here. I last year invested in my first set of Bootstrap Farmer trays and cups. So I have their 2-inch pots that sit in their drainage trays, which I don't know if you can see that on camera. They have holes in the bottom to drain out any excess water. And then I have a tray that they sit in at the bottom. These are primarily what I'll be starting my seeds in, but I'm a cup saver. So, I mean, these are from buying starts last year. And until they fall apart, I keep them, because why not? They're perfectly good for potting things up. If they get too big to live in these 2-inch cups, for starting things right out. So I'll also start in these. So
I don't make my own seed starting mix. I don't have the time and energy for that at this point in my life. So for the last couple years, have just used this Jiffy seed starting mix. Natural and organic. It's got peat moss, cocoa coir, and vermiculite. I have dumped a bunch of it into this container and I soaked it with water to make it a little more pliable. And so kind of what I'm looking for is to be able to, let me scoop this in, squeeze it and it holds its shape, but also I can just like crumble it down and it'll crumble away. So I'm basically just gonna fill all of these cups prior to putting anything in them. I'm gonna fill everything on this tray. And I'm probably just gonna time lapse this because it's gonna take me a hot minute. Go in and top off some of these that are a little low, because I wet down more soil than I probably needed to. All right, now we have that. So now that I have all of these filled, I'm going to go ahead and mark all of these pots with what I plan to put in them. So I just bought these really tiny, I'll take them out of the bag so you can actually see them. Little tiny 2-inch markers. I'm historically bad at keeping track of what's in my trays. Last year, we ended up with so many habanero plants. It was a little ridiculous because I didn't mark anything. Before I mark these, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I'm starting now. So being in zone 6B, you can start a lot of your cold weather crops right now, with warm weather crops not very far behind. So typically our last frost date historically has been like the middle of May, and a lot of people in this area wait until typically Memorial Day to put out their warm weather stuff. Well, as climate is changing and temperatures are shifting, our last frost date is expected to be the middle of April this year, and we've had an extremely mild winter. When I say it snowed yesterday, I mean it like one thin layer on the ground, not even a full inch, like can still see the grass. So it's expected to be warmer earlier this year. And so these cold weather crops can go out, they're gonna go out probably 8-ish weeks from now, which is going to be probably about the middle of April. And all of my warm weather crops I will probably put out the first couple weeks of May. So I'm I'm actually starting these a little bit late, but we're starting them now and I think it'll be fine. And so the cold weather crops that I am starting include, we're going to start broccoli. We're going to do the Sun King hybrid broccoli from Burpee Seeds. We're going to try again, Copenhagen Market Early cabbage. Last year I had a massive problem with cabbage worms. My cabbages were decimated. It was such a problem. Self-blanching cauliflower from M.I. Gardner, which I also tried last year and had a massive problem. And then this package is upside down, but it's open, so I can't flip it. The Long Island Brussels sprouts, also from M.I. Gardner. These ones I stepped on last year and killed them. I have a massive problem with deciding to walk in my garden beds, which I will show you guys in the future what those look like. I don't want to go out in my backyard right now. It is cold and snowy, and I'm like barely surviving with the heater in my garage. But I stepped in my garden bed and crushed all of my Brussels sprouts. We're also going to, I've never grown onions from seed. I've never made them work, but we're gonna try it because why not? So we're gonna try these cipollini onions from M.I. Gardener. I also just have like yellow hybrid onions that I tried to go from seed last year and it didn't go well. And then these Tokyo bunching onions. So we're gonna try these and we're gonna see how it goes. I actually might not plant all of these trays. So actually, I think I'm gonna add in some lettuces and kale into this mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and just label all of these pots and I will be back. Okay, so as you can see, I have this whole tray labeled. I just wrote on these little things with Sharpies and I stick them in every pot. This is not what I did last year. Last year was a hot mess. But so I have like my last few, which are for my lettuce mix, which you can't see on camera, but they're just going in the end here. So the extra things I decided to start that I didn't already mention, I'll be starting kale, the dwarf blue curled from Burpee, and Salad Sensation spinach from Burpee, as well as an M.I. Gardener salad mix, Burpee Bib lettuce, and all season romaine lettuce. Because I know that these can go out while it's still fairly cold and they will fare well. So the first thing on my list here is the Brussels sprouts. So I'm just gonna take a couple of these seeds. I'm gonna do like 2 per pot in hopes that that helps with germination. They should be okay though. So I'm just taking these, knocking seeds down. That would have been a hot mess. Okay. So I am just going to take these very small seeds. And I'm just gonna pop 2 of them in here. You kind of want to go, you don't want them to go too deep. It's kind of I think, so I watch a lot of Jess and Maya from Roots and Refuge Farm. I think they suggest, I think Jess suggests like twice as deep as it is wide, and these are small seeds. So we are not going very deep here. I'm sticking them in little holes that I'm making, and I'm just dropping them in the center and then covering them back up. Got 1 extra, just drop it in there. Okay. All right, so the other thing that I learned, where did I put my washi tape? Aha. So I was watching a video from Jess the other day. Okay, let me back it up. I keep all of my seeds in these picture containers. I have a very large, I'll grab it and show you. I have this picture box full of seeds. There's lots of them in there. I have been, after I'm done seeding, I toss them in their appropriate container. They're all labeled. The onions are not. But so, like this one, I have labeled for brassicas. So like all of my cabbages, broccolis, whatever. As you can see, those are mysteries now because I don't know which package they came from. Because I've never really like known how to close my seed packets all the way. Folding them doesn't stick. Tape like wrecks the package. Just suggested washi tape, and it's kind of genius, and I don't know why I never thought of it. I have so much washi tape. So I'm just going to now tape all of these guys closed. My life is about to get so much better when it comes to keeping track of my seeds. And so then as I get them done, I'm gonna pop them back in their cases. Oh God, there's so many extra seeds in here. Okay. All right, and next is broccoli. And so I'm just gonna do this across the board, and I'm gonna seed all of these, or start all these seeds. In probably 2 weeks, I will be doing all of the warm stuff. Peppers, tomatoes. Sometimes I start cucumbers and zucchinis inside. Sometimes I only seed those in the garden. We'll see how I feel. Currently I'm seeding broccolis. Trying to get 2 in each hole. Some of them have 3 because they stick to my fingers. I have a bunch of new seeds that I'm trying this year. I like peppers. I like the taste of some of them, but I'm not a spicy person. And this year I'm trying habaneros and nadapenos, which are habaneros and jalapenos, but they are not hot. I'm really excited to see how those taste. Okay, cabbages are in. This is kind of a long process, but it's nice to be able to start what I want, which is kind of what I enjoy about this. This is my third year gardening. And so I've gained quite a bit of knowledge. I'm not like an expert by any means. I still have plenty of learning to do. But I felt like it might be fun to just be able to share some of the journey of my garden space. And there's not enough to put back in there. We'll just extra seeds on. Okay. I just thought it might be fun to share some of what I do here with my backyard garden. And, you know, if there's ever anything that you guys are curious about, I would love to hear what you might want to see, processes that you might be curious about. And so I'm going to finish seeding these, and then I will show you what my setup in my basement looks like for germinating all of these. Hi again. All right, so we are now in my basement, and I'm going to show you guys the setup that we have for germinating our seeds and getting our seedlings ready to go outside for the garden. So this is a setup that we built last year, and so I'm going to flip the camera around and talk to you about it. So this is our seed setting startup. We just got a metal rack with I guess technically 5 shelves, but we don't put any seedlings up on the top shelf. We bought these grow lights. They're just, I think, LED grow lights off of Amazon. And I also bought these heat mats. And so currently we just have our one lone tray of cute little seedlings. Oh, I didn't cover up my lettuces. And my little lettuce seeds, did not pack those in. I super seeded all of these lettuces just because I know that they can handle it, and I know that I can separate them out later on. And so all of those have seeds in them. I might actually drop these lights down one rung on these chains, and these will live here until they are big enough to go outside. We'll keep stacking. I think I might get one more seed mat for this year so that all 3 of these shelves, actually I might get another pack of 2, so all 4 of the shelves have heat mats on them because they all have lights on them. That is our honey nut squash harvest from last year. I had 3 honey nut squash plants, and they produced an insane amount, and so we actually still have those in our basement. We're still working through those. And we also have seed potatoes that were on these racks. They lived here. The potatoes and onions lived on these racks throughout the winter, and these will go into the garden as seed potatoes, probably here shortly. I need to look up when that can go in, but we'll also be growing potatoes. So yeah, these little seedlings will live here, and we'll see how they go. One thing I wanted to know about these Bootstrap Farmer trays, the one thing I really like is because of the way that this setup is, this is kind of dark because just the way the lights hit, with this bottom tray and this holder tray, this one here, having holes in the bottom, I can actually bottom water all of these while they're in their trays. Top watering can present all sorts of issues with like mildew, dampening off, all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't always leak all the way, or absorb all the way down into the soil. So with bottom watering, the soil is able to suck up all of the water, and it waters a little bit more efficiently and keeps them watered longer. So yeah, we'll see where these go in the next week or so. We'll see how they all sprout up. It'll be very exciting. So one downfall to the way that sometimes I work my garden is I don't think everything through all the way. I seeded a bunch of yellow onions, and honestly, I'm just going to do all my onions by sets. And so I bought those at Home Depot yesterday. They're not they're just yellow onions and red onions. I don't know what variety they are. And I'm actually going to reseed these pots here that were yellow onions to be eggplant. And so we're going to be doing Black Beauty eggplants that were from Burpee Seeds. And so I'm just going to be swapping those out. And I'll also show you the progress that our seeds have made so far. So as you can see, we have lots of little seedlings that are all coming up. We had a lettuce situation back there where a bunch of seeds fell out of my packet, and so I just let it happen. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. These guys are getting a little bit leggy, so what I went ahead and did was I dropped down the lights a little bit. I needed space for the humidity dome, and our eggplants are going to go right here in this row. And these are the eggplants that we're going to be growing in that spot. I'll probably seed more in the other tray when I do the rest of our warm season stuff. And as some of the stuff goes into the garden, I'll also be like sowing the next round of stuff. Another thing that's really nice about these Bootstrap Farmer trays is these cups can come right out. Oh, about to knock the light down. The cups can come right out. You'll see these holes down in here. So I'm going to take this water cup and I'm actually just going to fill down in here so that my seedlings can bottom water a little bit. Because they're starting to dry up some, but you don't want to overwater your seedlings or they will die of like being too wet. It's called like root rot, dampening off. It's bad, not good. But we haven't watered them in a few days, so actually a week, so we're going to do this now. So you can see I'll fill it up and it drains all the way across, which is nice. It evens out. Osmosis, as one might say. And then everybody can get a nice drink.